Hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. We are finally back again recording FPL videos, and this week we are taking a look at a blank Game Week 18 free hit squad. This is the best team that, in my opinion, you can have going into blank Game Week 18. Now, of course, it is a blank game week because Man City and Brentford aren't playing due to that game being cancelled and moved to a later date. Due to Man City playing in the Club World Cup. So of course there is a very good reason to use a free hit here because Man City is one of the most popular teams in the game, and of course there is a lot of injuries and suspensions going around right now, and it does look like a pretty decent game week to be using that free hit chip. So in this video we will just be going through the best team and some reasons why I believe these players will be amongst the best going into this game week. So starting off then with the goalkeeper and defence, we have started off with Bernd Leno, the Fulham goalkeeper, playing against Burnley at home. Now Leno does probably look like the best value goalkeeper and probably the best goalkeeper of the FPL season so far. He is second for clean sheets, only behind Onana and Pickford. Fulham have 5 clean sheets so far this season, with Man United and Everton keeping 6 so far. So Fulham have been very useful for clean sheets this season. Of course, he is only a 4.5 million goalkeeper, at least he was at the start. He has risen since then, but in terms of saves and just general points, he has been absolutely brilliant. In terms of saves, he is second for saves per 90 as well, just behind Wes Foderingham for Sheffield, and he looks like a brilliant goalkeeper. In terms of clean sheets and saves, he just does everything that you want in a goalkeeper for FPL, and again he's very cheap as well. So he's had loads of double digit hauls, loads of 12 pointers in terms of picking up clean sheets and saves, and I think a game against Burnley you would be hoping for a clean sheet for Fulham there as well, and you could definitely hope for some saves. So for me, I do think he is the best goalkeeper you can go for this week. There is a possible shout for Dubravka, but I have went for 3 Newcastle players outfield, which is why he's not here. But I do think with the home fixture for Fulham, Leno just edges him in terms of picks. Looking at the defenders, we do have 3 of the top 4 highest scoring defenders in the game so far, along with Trent, Trippier and Porro. Trent being number 1, Trippier being number 2, Porro being number 4. The only one who's not here is Saliba, as they do have an away fixture against Liverpool. But we're going with 3 right backs because they look fantastic and they have great fixtures this week, excluding probably Trent, but we do know how good Trent can be, and he easily could have scored against Man United at home, which would have been considered a hard fixture there. So I would definitely still be going for Trent, and I think looking at the teams this week with no Haalands and stuff, you are going to be having a lot of budget spare. I definitely think you could use that to go with Trent as a bit of a differential, as most of the games can't afford them quite yet. Trippier, of course, has a fantastic fixture with Luton away, and he is joint with Trent for second most chances created, big chances created so far this season, both of them joint in second. And I think with Porro as well, another good fixture, home fixture against Everton. Even though they have been performing quite well, Porro just looks brilliant. He's been very attacking for Spurs, and he accumulated 0.71 expected goals involvement over the weekend, and he just looks extremely attacking for Spurs. And I think even if they had a difficult fixture, I'd definitely be going for Porro. I think he does look like the best value defender in the game so far this season, and I would just be having him. I think it'd be stupid not to have him in a free hit squad. Wrapping everything up, I've went for Paul. I would definitely have an Aston Villa defender in here with a game against Sheffield. Sheffield haven't had great away form this season. They've not scored more than 1 goal in any away game so far, and they've not scored a goal in 3 of their last 4. So I do think an Aston Villa defender would definitely be in most teams in terms of Game Week 18. The reason I went for Paul, it does have the most points in terms of Villa defenders, and he probably is the most nailed as well. I do think there is a shout for Alex Moreno, who has just come back and played left wing back for Villa over the weekend. However, he isn't as nailed as Paul is. There's some rumours that Digne may start the Sheffield game because it's just a more easier game. But in terms of attacking returns, Moreno looks fantastic. He came back, he scored, he was great last season in terms of goals scored from left back as well. And in terms of expected goals involvement, he was joint with Porro with 0.71 over the weekend, which just shows how attacking he was. And he obviously did pick up that goal as well. So if you're willing to risk it, I would definitely go for Alex Moreno. It's just a bit more expensive than Pau is. But obviously, if you want to be safer, I do think Villa will keep a clean sheet and you can go for Pau Torres in defence. In at the midfield spots, we are starting off with Mo Salah, who really doesn't need much of an introduction. He is probably the most essential player in FPL so far, maybe outside of Haaland. However, any team you look at is going to have Salah in it, whereas we do have a lot of people who are going Haalandless, so I would imagine that Salah definitely is at least in the top two with most essential players. So again, even with Arsenal at home, I definitely would be having them in my team. And of course, there is a shout for captaincy there as well, which just shows you how much of a good player Salah can be on his day. So again, we don't really need to speak too much into his stats or anything, but moving on to Heung-min Son, who is playing against Everton at home. However, he could play in the left wing position, which we have seen to not be as effective for him with Richarlison playing as the striker, but he is obviously still a fantastic player. He is up there with the top goal scorers so far of the season, so I think it would be silly to leave him out. But I think if you wanted, you could get away with him. There is a lot of good decent midfielders out there. Likes of Cole Palmer hasn't made the team, Bowen hasn't made the team either. There is quite a few midfielders that you could go for, but I think on a free hit, using up the budget as much as possible, you should definitely be going with Son. We have went for his strike partner beside him as well, which is Richarlison. He has scored 3 goals in his last 2 games. Obviously is the one playing at striker, and he is playing against his old club as well, so that could give him some extra motivation. But he has been in good form recently. Obviously has always struggled to get some goals for Spurs, but recently he has been doing quite well. Ange clearly trusts him as well. He is starting. He has just came back from injury again, straight back in the team. So I think he definitely will be playing, and again he should be playing at striker. Looking at Anthony Gordon as well, rounding off the midfield, I do think you definitely have to have at least 1 or 2 Newcastle attackers, and Gordon does look like the best value midfielder so far in FPL, probably along with Cole Palmer. But he was 5.5 million, has made his way all the way up to 6.2 million, and again with a fixture against Luton away, I think it would be silly to leave him out. And again, you are saving a lot of money to be able to afford the likes of Trent, Son and Salah in this team. So I think the fixture looks great, the form looks great for Gordon, and he just has to be in most teams. And finally, rounding things off with the attack, we are going for Ollie Watkins and Callum Wilson. I do think Watkins is just absolutely essential in FPL this season. He's been great, and he is scoring a lot of the time. And of course, again, we are talking about the Sheffield United fixture being quite an easy one for most teams, especially with Villa's home record as well. I would be expecting at least a decent haul from Watkins this week, and I do think he could easily be in there with a captaincy shout if you didn't want to captain Salah, again with a pretty difficult fixture against Arsenal. I do think Watkins does have one of the easiest fixtures in the league so far, and obviously with his form and stuff, he does look brilliant. So I do think Watkins would be my captaincy pick in this free hit squad, and I do think he just looks brilliant as a player overall. So I definitely want him in this team. We have partnered him up with Callum Wilson. Again, a bit of a minutes risk with Isak obviously missing the weekend with a slight injury. I think he should be okay for this game. I do think Wilson should start it though, and I think no matter who starts as the striker position for Newcastle will do very well, because it is a Luton fixture away from home, and I do think if you can get that right, whether it is Wilson or Isak, hopefully we can get some news or some leaks before the deadline, but I definitely would want one of those. I do think Wilson is more likely to start, but I definitely would be wanting a Newcastle striker there, which does finish off the double Newcastle attack there with Wilson and Gordon. Obviously the one we're missing there is Almiron, hasn't been as great of recently. Did score at the weekend, however. If you wanted like a massive differential, you could go for that. However, I definitely would prefer Gordon and Wilson in those positions. And then rounding off the bench, we do have Cunha, Taylor and Ahamada. Again, not really essential as we are picking players who we believe will play this week, but just in case, we do have Cunha as the number one bench player. I think as a third striker, it does look like a good option. You could always use your money if you've got extra team value and go for someone like Bowen, someone like Kudus if you really wanted. Again, someone like Cole Palmer if you wanted to use that extra budget. For me, I went for Cunha. I do think Chelsea still look pretty vulnerable, and with Wolves being at home, it definitely looks quite good. Cunha has proved himself again against Arsenal and stuff as well, so I definitely think there's a good chance of him scoring. So if maybe you wanted to play Cunha over Paul Torres, you could do that. However, I do think that Villa clean sheet is pretty locked in, which is why Paul Torres is in the starting 11 and Cunha's on the bench. But again, we aren't really focusing on the bench too much. Obviously it is just kind of a backup. I do think Cunha is pretty good there. In terms of the team value, obviously 100.3 million. I think most people should be able to afford this team if you are looking to play the free hit. And I think overall the team does look very, very solid. In terms of fixtures, it looks great, except obviously for some of the Liverpool players. But I think with Salah and Trent, they are fixture-proof players who you can kind of go for really with any fixture at all. And on a free hit, again, you want to be using the budget as much as possible. And I think they two kind of are essential, especially in the form that they're in right now. But that is the free hit team. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be using your free hit. Let me know how similar your actual team is to this one. And of course, subscribe for more FPL stuff. We will be putting more stuff out over Christmas. So if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe and turn the notifications on. And I will see you all in the next video.